he leaves, and then
He releases
another
the toe muncher. He's the definition of guy with a foot fetish.
We have such sights to show you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Four Dead Losers podcast. We're the Four Dead Losers. I'm Ramiro.
Jordan.
Justin.
And we have Adam, who's out today. He's going, getting ready for some trip that he's about to take. But today we're going to be talking about a viewer request of Oddity. Wow, how exciting. Non-spoiler thoughts, Jordan, what did you think of the movie?
Oh, we're starting with me.
I always start with the right.
I've never been on... Oh, never
Right hand man.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like neutrally positive would be a term I would use. I don't want to give my rating yet. Sorry, I was about to just...
No,
I liked it. It didn't really have... We were talking about this a little bit before. There wasn't really like a climax or like a point that I can really... Like that stood out to me that was kind of above. There was also nothing like really... like negative or positive in a crazy way, but...
Really middle of the road?
Yeah, that. In like a... Generally positive, but like I probably wouldn't watch it again unless I wanted to take a nap. I'm feeling like a 7.5 out of 10.
Damn,
like
that's pretty high.
That's what I'm saying. It's weird because nothing I feel like would bring the score down, but I don't know. There's movies I've rated in like the 5 and 6s that are way worse than this. So.
Yeah, that's true.
He's on that
Adam average.
I'm trying to adjust my scale. Yeah. 7.5.
7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Justin, non-spoiler thoughts. What did you think of the movie?
Again, I'm gonna kind of just like say the same thing as I said about Wolfman. It was kind of painfully average. I was expecting something else, I guess, and maybe I think there was this conversation that we had right, maybe prior. Where you should just go in not right. I think that was kind of the thing.
Yeah, that was the less you know about the movie, the
better, right? Yeah. And I think we had read the synopsis at some point, and so even then, reading the synopsis, I still went in with a different mindset, expecting something else, and it was just kind of like it felt lackluster as opposed to what I was actually expecting. So
yeah,
I don't know. Again, it's really painfully average. Nothing really kind of stood out to me. It was kind of boring at times. Yeah, it was probably middle of the road.
Mm-hmm. Rating out of 10?
Probably like the same thing. It's like a 5 out of 10.
A 5 out of 10? Yeah, that's fair. Other thoughts for myself. I really have to agree with the two of them. I feel like this movie was pretty average. But like, there were parts in the movie that really grabbed my attention. And I like the opening scene, which we'll get into in a little bit, I thought was phenomenal.
The very opening with the... Actually, you know what? I agree. Yeah. I give 5.5.
What was the opening?
With
homeboy showing up at the house?
Patient, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was like...
Yeah.
It actually did have a pretty good...
See, there's parts that grabbed me. Nothing really like pulled me out of it.
Right, and I feel like there were a lot of parts throughout the movie, and we'll get into it in a little bit, that kept like pulling me in, wanting me to know, I guess, what was going on, or the lore behind what everything was. But once we got to the last like 15 minutes of the movie, I just felt like that was just like it killed it.
I think once you kind of, because there's a twist, right? There's a twist in the movie, right? I think once the twist was like revealed, it kind of like was like,
yeah.
And they didn't really. There wasn't really like kind of like any I don't know if tension's the right word, but any mystery behind the twist. Like It was kind of like, oh, the twist is there, and like they had a good chance to kind of like maybe kind of go back and forth and play like a, are they right or wrong kind of thing, and I feel like they just kind of like fumbled it like real fast.
I think had everything up to the twist been the same, and then everything after it been different, or like I guess more of what we would have wanted, I think y'all would rate it higher. And to me, like that's the difference of it being like a 7.5 compared to. I feel like it had the potential to be like an 8.5.
Yeah, it really did. So the rating for myself, I'd probably have to give it like a 6 out of 10. Mainly for like the parts where when it grabbed my attention, I was glued to the screen. Like I found it hard to look away from, even check my phone or anything like that. But then, like the ending just
It fell short.
Yeah, it really did. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get to the spoiler section of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. It'll really help us out, and we really appreciate it. But until then, this is going to be your spoiler warning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So a short synopsis of the movie. So basically what happens at the very beginning, the part that does great in my opinion for like an opening scene, is we follow this woman who her and her husband buy a manor, right, or something like that in the middle of the woods, and it's like the way that it's structured is kind of weird. It's just a square with nothing in the middle.
It's like a U, kind of like
it's a square.
Right? I guess it is a square
because there's a shot over the thing, and you can see that there's a courtyard and
Amanda pointed out that do they only
stay
live in that corner?
Yeah, that's what because you see the scene right, behind, they're in the middle of the thing, and behind her, there's the windows are all decrepit and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
I was like, is this I don't know.
I guess they only own or they only cared to renovate that corner.
Corner.
Or there's windows open and
maybe they were slowly renovating. I don't know.
Well, I mean, which makes sense, right? Because we're about to get into it. But her name is Danny, and she's, like we were saying, renovating the house. Her husband, his name is Ted. We'll meet him in a little bit. So their renovations just started, and they have a tent or something like that they sleep in the what would later become the living room. So Danny is inside. She goes outside to get something from her car, and then she comes back in. When she's inside, immediately somebody tries to open the door. So always lock your doors as soon as you get into the house. So somebody tried to open the door, and she goes to check it out, and they have a little sliding, a little window, right, that kind of slides.
What's the password?
Why is it so big? I told Amanda this. Why is it so big? I feel like
you can reach your hand through that.
We're about to get into it, but the person who is there can easily
go, you little bitch.
It's not. Usually, I feel like they're a little. I don't know.
Yeah, just
this thing was like a.
He just stuck his whole head in there. He was like, oh yeah, this man's place.
It's like a drive-through window. For that big.
But she also said, I mean, I know we skipped over kind of she was on the phone earlier and all this, nighttime. But she said she lost her phone out there, and I was like,
she lost the.
Because when he told her to call the police, she was like,
she
I can't find my phone. But we never saw her go to the. I don't know.
She did go to the car for something. That. I don't know. She lost her phone.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The other already 10 minutes in 5. No.
The other thing that's semi-important to mention is that Danny has a camera that's set up in the house, and it takes pictures every 20 seconds or something like that. Well, anyways, she gets a knock on the door. She goes to check it out, opens the sliding door. What's the password? And it's this man, and one of his eyes is a glass eye.
Yeah.
And so that immediately is a defining feature of him that they bring up throughout the entire movie. And he warns her. He's remember that they're in the middle of nowhere. And this man knocks on her door, and he's like, hey, I watched you walk outside to your car. When you did that, somebody snuck into your house. And immediately Danny's she's like the SpongeGuard meme, right?
Yeah.
For real on high alert. And she's like, what are you talking about? The only person here is me. And he's like, no, you don't get it. There's somebody in there with you. And then she does the cliche, is anybody here?
Yeah.
She also asked him, why are you out here?
Yeah, I know, yeah. I mean, it's a valid point, right? Why
exactly.
In the middle of nowhere, why is
why?
So, which makes her caution, understandable, right?
It was a very tense scene, honestly. I liked this. The more I think about it, it was a really good scene.
Because at first she's trying to say, my husband's here or whatever, and that's when we find out that the guy at the door knows the doctor.
Yeah.
Which also, to the audience, we know that, at this point, we know that the husband works at, a psych ward or something of that, nature, so it makes the guy seem even crazier, because he's I think he drops a little dump of I heard him talking in the wall or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
yes.
Which we find out later, but at the time it's oh yeah, this guy's crazy.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. It makes sense now, yeah.
And then so she's very cautious, of course, and he's like, no, you don't get it. Somebody's in there with you. You need to leave now. And she's like, you're kind of giving me the creeps. And he goes, okay, well then let me in and I'll go get the guy or whoever's in there with you. And she's like, I'm not comfortable with that. And so he says, okay, fine, I'll go to town, which we have no idea how far away the town is. I'll get the police and we'll come back and I'll bring them back here. And she like is a little hesitant at that point, and she's like, and is thinking about letting him in. And she asks him, like, if I let you in,
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? And his response is, I'll check the house, and if there's nobody here, then I'll just leave.
And we're still hearing like creaks and stuff.
Yeah, and that's what makes it like tense, because you don't know if he's lying or not. And that's it was a really good scene.
Yeah, and like it's not a new house, right? It's an older house and it's like it looks almost abandoned. So somewhere where creeks aren't atypical.
Yeah.
Like we really don't know if somebody's in there.
Exactly, we really don't know. And so homeboy, whose name is Orlin, we find that out later. Eventually he leaves like to go to town to get the police. And so Danny like shuts the driveway window.
Not yet.
I think all we see in the beginning is she's like going to open the door.
No, so the scene is after she says like, "What are you gonna do?" He says, "I'm gonna look around." She reaches for it, and then the title comes out.
And then it cuts off.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, we don't see the rest of it.
Yeah.
Which I know I'm that guy on here who talks about like film quality and everything. I found interesting. I told Amanda this that like. So I was telling Justin that IFC also did like In a Violent Nature, Late Night with the Devil. I found interesting that this film, it's almost filmed in a way where like if you told me this movie came out in 2010, I'd probably believe you.
Yeah.
Like it has a really like older. I don't know. It's not necessarily the film quality. It's just the way it's kind of filmed. Yeah. It's not like super vibrant or super. It gives like 2010 vibes in a good way. It feels unsettling.
Yeah, it was okay. It was. I didn't really think about it too much, but you know. Yeah, I could see that.
So then the next scene after the title card, we cut to another, I guess, patient, and he's at basically like an apartment complex where when they release people from the
halfway home.
Yeah,
halfway home.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're called.
Yeah. So he's at the halfway house. There's a bunch of drawings all over the wall, and one of them is of Orlin. And so there's a bunch of creepy noises. The person that we're now following is like completely freaked out, hides under his bed. His door opens up, right, and we see like feet come in and then walk out.
I don't think you ever see anything. Do you?
Not? I thought
we never seen it.
You just hear a noise.
I'm pretty sure.
Really creepy.
Well, because I know the door opened.
Yes.
I feel like he had gone and opened the door real quick, like taking.
Oh, and he saw. No, yes, he did open the door.
He saw something, which
we'll
get to.
Figure out what it is.
He closed it. I think when he hides under the bed, we never see anything go to him or from him. We just kind of hear all the loud noise.
Okay.
Weird, screaming, supernatural noises.
Yeah, spooky noises. Ooh. Well, this person then goes out and back into the hallway once the noises have calmed down. He goes into a different apartment or room or whatever.
There's a dead body.
Yeah, and there's a dead body. We find out. Yes, he picks up the glass eye of Orlin. So this is where we find out that our person from the opening scene has met his demise.
Yeah.
And then we cut again. And we are at a shop. So I don't know if we get the name of the shop here, but I know at the very end we do.
Yeah.
And it's something Oddity, and I feel like that.
I mean, how many Oddity shops are like?
I'm pretty sure there's like a sign on the wall or something, but I don't think it's.
You can tell
what I'm getting to is like I don't know if the name of the shop was like meaningful or is supposed to be. Is what I'm trying.
Oh no, I think it was just for you to be like at the very end. It's like, oh, it's from her shop. I don't think like the actual name itself had any meaning. It was just to show like, oh, this is from her shop.
I think that.
Yeah, it didn't actually like. Unless maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe that's why I give it such a low rating. Once I realize once I dissect the name, I'll realize like. This is the best movie ever. Oh man. Oh, that's crazy. The ties.
So Ted goes into the shop. Remember, he's the doctor. He's Danny's husband. And this is where we get introduced to Darcy, who's our main character. Darcy and Danny are twins, and they're identical except for the color of their hair. Like, the color of their hair is different. One of them's brunette, and the other one's, like, silver.
I guess.
Was this the same actress? Do people know?
I think so. I don't know.
I couldn't tell.
I don't know.
It should be. It'd be weird if unless maybe it was actual twins. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I didn't look at that.
But Darcy is visually impaired. She's not able to see, but she has like the third eye vision where she's able to touch like artifacts or different things from people and see like their lore.
Supposedly. Allegedly.
So her and Ted kind of catch up for a little bit, right? And then they let it. This is where we find out that Danny's been dead for a year, or close to it. And so Ted tells her like, "You should come over to our house for dinner." And then
it was like a halfway invite.
Yeah,
it was like a half, like like the thing, like
a courtesy.
Like when you see like someone and you're like, oh yeah, we should catch up sometime. It's like, oh yeah, we should go grab a drink or something. And, like y'all never do,
and then you leave praying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah,
she was just hoping to never see her again, probably.
Yeah. So he leaves. Whatever.
He does mention his like new girl.
His new girlfriend.
Oh, that's right.
Yana.
I actually like that name. It's a cool name.
So the next thing that happens is that we follow Darcy as she's going home, and in the back of her house she has this trunk. And we find out what the trunk is later on, but I kind of want to point out that I think it's really funny. There's a shot that has like other artifacts.
Look. Now that we can get to this point, when I read the synopsis, I thought the whole thing was gonna like her, right? Like it's not like anything like I was like, oh, I was disappointed that it was like this person or something, but I thought it was gonna be her going after like multiple people with multiple different cursed objects and not just one cursed object.
The synopsis that is on Shudder makes it sound like
when I saw this, I was like, oh,
because I didn't watch the trailer, but I read it and she says
that's
like
what I said,
using cursed items.
That's what I was like.
It's like there's multiple, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, she only uses 2, which we'll get to in the end.
And the main one.
I guess you could really say the ending was technically one, but like it wasn't really like anything. It was mainly just that one.
And we never even. Yeah.
That's why I was like, oh. When I saw that, I was like, oh, this is gonna be an awesome movie, right? She's gonna kill all these different people with different cursed items in weird ways and stuff, and then it never happens. It never happens.
One of the cursed items that she has on the wall is one of the like a wind-up monkey.
She got the monkey.
The monkey. Just a reminder, it's on our season 2 watch list. So stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's like a bunny or something. The thing that hits the symbol at the end.
Yeah.
Apparently. I think it's called Caveat or something from that same director. Focuses around that thing. Yeah.
Oh, they're making a cursed item.
I don't know if it's like a
verse, like the Conjuring verse or whatever.
Cursed item verse.
Yeah, cursed item verse.
I saw the monkey though, and I thought.
Yeah, there it is. So then we cut back to the manor, and we're following Ted now, and he's in an argument with his girlfriend. Basically,
she don't want to sleep alone.
Yeah, she doesn't like being there alone. She says that it makes her feel weird that she's always being like watched or something like that. And she also finds Danny's camera, and so I thought it was very what's the word?
Sentimental.
Yeah. That was very sentimental that she's like, hey, like your wife died. It's okay if you want to go through her pictures on the camera.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, nah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Which, like, in retrospect, after watching the whole movie, like, you get it now. I'm like, oh, that's kind of fucked up,
Yeah.
You start to get that.
Yeah. At first, it's kind of like, oh, he's like, oh, he's just being, like, courteous to, like, his girlfriend. But, like, then you realize, like, what actually happened. You're like, guy's kind of an asshole.
Yeah. Another piece of lore or whatever that Yana drops is that she claims to be seeing Darcy's ghost throughout the house. And Ted is very much...
Danny.
A ghost.
Is her name Danny?
Yeah.
Danny's ghost.
Sure.
Danny's ghost,
yeah.
But a ghost. Because he says, you're not seeing Danny's ghost. She's like, okay, fine, a ghost. I didn't say it was Danny's ghost.
Ted is very much of, I'm the man of science. This metaphysics is BS. I don't believe in that. Which is fine, I think.
Because I can relate.
And then Yana Yana says that Ted had received a package, which is the trunk.
Oh, yeah.
And we see it in the background of whatever, they point to it. And then we get a knock on the door, or does he open the door? Something. Darcy's outside.
Darcy.
I think he's going to leave.
He's going to leave.
He's leaving for work.
Yana was like, oh, Darcy's actually standing outside. She's been there for like 2 hours. She doesn't really say that, but like she's been standing out there apparently. I don't know how long. But
How did she get there?
She like Ubered?
She had like an umbrella, right? She did the Mary Poppins. Just floated down from the sky or something. She used one of her cursed objects to
teleport.
I don't.
So it's the whole like, what are you doing here? And Darcy's like, what are you talking about? You invited me.
Like they're both like, what?
Yeah, and just like you were saying, right? It's like, oh, I didn't actually invite her.
Imagine being like telling somebody we should catch up sometime.
And they
weeks later they're at your house.
You're like, fuck.
And so they go back and forth a little bit. Darcy, because now we have reached the 1 year anniversary of when Danny had passed.
Mm-hmm.
And so Darcy's like, y'all can go continue y'all's lives. I just want to sit and be in the, in the area or whatever.
And they're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, that is kind of weird, right? Imagine like having a friend or like your family friend. They're like, yeah, you can go to work. I'm just going to hang out in your house.
Did we mention that Ted had given her, that's his name, right? Ted had given her the glass eye earlier?
Oh, yeah, he did.
You know what? I forgot about that. There's two really big things that we breezed over when they were at the shop when we get introduced to Darcy. Ted gives her the glass eye from Orlin, and Olin. That's his name.
And we find out she's blind.
And the other thing is that when we're introduced to Darcy, she's holding like a bell that you would ring at hotels for bellhops.
It's cursed.
She explains that it's cursed, that it's haunted. Ooh, spooky
Evil
ghosts.
bellhop.
So you ring it, you see the bellhop, and you die.
Yeah.
It's like the movie The Ring, right? Except you ring the bell.
Then you die in 7 days.
So Yana comes back and her and Ted get into it again, basically like, I don't want here, XYZ. And then they go to open the trunk and we really only, at this point, we only see a hand. We don't see what's inside.
I didn't see anything. Actually,
it's like a weird angle where you see like part of it's
the hand is like this or something. Like it doesn't, like it looks like a hand, but you have to kind of look at it to be like, oh, that's a hand.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's something, okay, I don't know if we're topping back in. So Ted goes to work. There's something, I don't know if we're like going to touch on when he gets to work. He like rushes into his office and like opens up the file. There's a file of all the drawings that were on the guy that was at the halfway house.
Yeah.
Of all the stuff he had on the wall. And he's looking for something because he saw what was in the trunk.
Yeah.
And it's like a drawing of the woodman's face, basically.
It was the woodman's
Which I thought
face?
was interesting.
I guess, right?
So I'm pretty sure that alludes to the fact that when that guy opened the door at the halfway house, it was the
that guy was
woodman.
psychic too.
Because later,
clairvoyant.
Yeah, later we touch on how like Darcy's talking about how she killed the guy who killed her sister.
Olin.
I don't know if y'all talk about that
she
together.
killed Olin, yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure it was through that guy.
There's a wood dog.
The same noises that happened during that scene.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
So the doctor like rushes to his office and like looks for that photo specifically.
Dang.
How did that bald guy?
Woodman.
How did that bald guy know though? That's the thing. The guy was bald. Can I say that?
Which guy?
Which
The one that was hiding under the bed.
Oh, okay.
How did he how did he know? Right? Because those were drawings on his wall. He was doing those.
How do you know what?
Well, maybe because this movie deals a lot with the supernatural, right? So maybe he has some kind of like psychic vision,
or he
something.
draws the wood. Maybe I assume that he drew the woodman after the thing.
There is a scene where he opens the door. The bald guy opens the door and sees something.
That's what I'm saying.
In the hallway, and he gets scared. So maybe that's when he saw the wooden.
And then
that was already
after.
Did he? Oh, I guess
because
he didn't die, right? I guess he didn't.
Yeah, it's not on the wall. We only see it in his file later.
Right. So he probably drew it later.
So I feel like at that moment Ted connected. Like, okay, because we never really find out. Like, we never see who kills Olin. We just see like his head.
That was I thought it was gonna be. See, that was another thing too. I thought this was gonna be like a more gruesome movie based off of that.
Yeah, because Ted also got the glass eye, which that dude at the halfway house had picked up. So he got his stuff.
He had
somehow.
to, have received it.
So I thought that was interesting. It didn't hit me till later that he had like a drawing of the wood guy.
Yeah. So we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yana is there at the house with Darcy. They're making small talk or whatever, and Darcy drops that Olin didn't kill Danny.
Yes.
And then Yana's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "No, like he didn't do that." And then
you get a flashback.
There is a flashback.
Oh, actually, yeah.
We get more of what happened that night. So it's a flashback. I'm leaving to get the police. XYZ. And then he leaves.
Oh, this is where we're in the flashback again of the intro of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
We get the rest of it.
Yeah. I guess it's technically a flashback at this point. It wasn't a flashback at the beginning, but now it's a flashback.
Now it's a flashback, yeah. And so Danny is very on edge. She gets a flashlight and she's like looking around the house, all these other things, and we don't see like anything until she goes into her tent, zips it up because she's already gonna go to get some rest, and then she unzips it, and then there's this.
Oh, because she had noticed. She grabs
the camera. She grabs.
Yeah.
No. She doesn't go to sleep because who goes to sleep?
Right.
Oh, you're right.
She grabbed the camera.
She was like, oh yeah. She's like, is he really lying or not? I can find out through the camera because it's been taking pictures. She goes in the tent with the camera. She's looking through it, and she sees the guy standing in the.
She like freaks out and is like.
And to be fair, honestly, I thought it was kind of a cool costume. I know it's really simple, but like the mask was kind of cool.
Yeah, so
it definitely needed to.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
it was cool. I liked it. I thought the costume design was.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, here's what the mask looks like. But if you're listening to this on Spotify or another, audio medium, it's basically a person in a heavy like black hood or cloak with like a Jabberwocky mask.
Yeah, essentially Jabberwocky mask. Yeah.
And we see him, or we find out later that it's male, but we see the person has a hammer, and then he starts to crawl into the tent. It cuts, and then there's blood all in the inside of the tent, and he's outside.
He's like tired. He looks
like he really didn't hold back.
Yeah.
So then we cut, and we get introduced to the orderly who's at Ted's hospital. Whose name is Ivan, and we get to know him later on. Basically, what you have to know about him is he's like a major asshole. Like
he's the killer. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Like he's a major ass to everybody for no reason.
He's a dick, yeah.
He is.
Just for fun. Just for funsies.
Yeah. So we fill in like the rest of the movie is pretty much like more back and forth between Yana and Darcy and Ted and Ivan until
the wood guy at the house keeps like just
creepy,
randomly
he's like randomly moving. There's even a point where Yana asks Darcy, right, like, hey, why did you take that out of the trunk? And she's like, I didn't do that.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, oh, how did it get out?
Yeah.
And for the majority of the shots for like the first act and maybe the half of the second act, we only see glimpses of the wooden figure in the background. Like we never see it like up close.
He'll end up in different areas, but we never see him up close. We never see him move. We never,
Yeah, and like Yana's starting to get weirded out because this figure's like that feeling that you get whenever you walk past dolls and it feels like their eyes are following you or paintings. That's literally what the wooden figure is doing. Like whenever she looks at it, it's essentially looking at her. There's a shot where she's looking over like a balcony or something like that, and so she's looking downwards.
Looking up
and then the wooden figure is looking straight up.
Yeah, like it's not even just moving. Like the whole posture of it's changing, which I don't know. This lady's just vibing with me.
And it like moves seats. Like it does like a whole lot but we never see it do any of those things. Let's see.
That's a strong blind lady.
Yeah, exactly. She's just doing. She's running up. She's moving. She's all fast. Right?
Maybe she's not blind.
Yeah, she's not actually blind.
Okay, so right after we get that shot of Yana looking down, she goes downstairs and its head is facing correctly now, but we get a shot from the back of the head and we see that it has like 5 holes and some symbol on it. Yeah. And so Yana starts digging around in the holes and she pulls out a few things. Like there's 2 pictures of twins, right? Like one of them when they're young, another when they're older. Yeah. There's a tooth that she pulls out. And then there's a vial of blood.
That's the last thing she pulls out.
Yeah. And Darcy starts yelling at her, right? To put it back.
By the way, before.
She was asleep.
And now she's like standing up.
Standing up, aware, She's like, put that shit back. Mm-hmm. What's that thing from Monster Thing? Put that thing back where it told me. Yeah.
Oh wait, I made a comment earlier and now I remember because I was like, Yana's just vibing with it. Earlier, Yana like loses her car keys, and she looks at Darcy and she says, "Have you seen my keys?" Darcy literally like turns to her and it's just silent, and then it cuts scene. But I forgot she had lost her keys, so she's kind of like
that's why she's
either she has to go on foot in the middle of nowhere or she's trapped.
So then Yana decides that she's had enough. She goes to bed, and she starts watching a video on Danny's camera, and it's a sweet little video, right? Like of Danny in the tent, like, oh, this is our bedroom for now or something. And then she goes to replay it, and when she replays it, there's Danny's ghost or something like that in the video. It's like, ooh, that part scared me. I'll be honest.
That's creepy.
She like throws that shit.
Yeah, she throws the camera,
and then
she takes a picture, and there's Danny in the corner. Run away!
Return the slab.
I think she runs downstairs. I don't know what cued her to look in the trunk, but like her car keys were in the trunk the whole time. I guess.
Yeah, and that's when she leaves, and
then she exits the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of like her odd view.
Okay, she like runs out of the house. And then all the lights in the house turn off, and we see like the ghost get really close.
Face
and she said, "No, I'm out."
Yeah,
she did.
I mean, that's like the smartest probably thing you could do in this situation.
Because she had also called Ted sometime during this while he was at work, saying like Darcy saying that like
all this stuff.
Homeboy didn't really kill her and all this other stuff, which obviously. We find out later Ted's probably like shitting himself. I'm pretty sure that's the last time we see Yana. Yeah, we hear from her again later, but
she's out.
She leaves a voicemail breaking up with Ted. Is what happens.
Yeah,
she's out of the budget.
She's out of the budget. We couldn't hire anyone. They're like, we need to start cutting people from this.
So Ted gets home shortly after. He sees the door wide open, walks inside, and sees the wooden figure. He walks upstairs and he finds Darcy basically curled up into like the fetal position or something, right? Somewhere upstairs. And they have a conversation where Darcy tells Ted that Ivan, the orderly, killed Danny. And Ted's like, no, I'm pretty sure it was Orlin. And it's very important to note that when this is happening, we are only seeing Ted's head, right, when he's talking.
Yeah, we're seeing
what his
above
hands
the
are
lid,
doing.
Because she also mentions, this is when Darcy mentions that she killed Olin or whatever his name is. And that, like, she basically says, like, and I'm going to have to pay for that. Which foreshadows.
Oh,
That's when, she's telling Ted all this, and Ted's like, well, if they've never met, why would Ivan kill her?
Yeah.
And that's when the twist happens.
The twist, we get basically the glimpse that Ted hired Ivan to murder his wife because he didn't have the heart to break up with her.
That was just a stupid reason too. It's like, what?
Yeah, we get the flashback at this point, right?
I think so.
Because that's when, like, we cut to Ivan and Ted talking in the office. And
that's kind of an awkward scene.
He's over there like, she'll never get over me. You know?
Yeah, and we're like, okay, calm down. Boy.
He's like,
and this is when it cuts to the guy from the beginning, like on the other side of the room, listening through listening through like the.
It's like a vent. Or
vent, yeah. So that's what he meant in the beginning when he mentions like I heard him talking in the wall.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's kind of all starting to. Yeah, because at the time, Ivan, I know this is super, like, not important to the plot, but Ivan was talking about, like, what if we make it look sexual?
I was like, what's wrong with this guy?
A true man of God.
I know, for real.
I was shocked. Yeah, I said, it was a really awkward conversation.
Like, to his wife.
Yeah.
Or his wife.
Yeah.
He's like, can I your wife? Like, no, he's like, no. What's he expecting him to say?
And then he tries to like pitch it again.
Yeah, he was like, you know what? On second thought, go for it. Like, what?
You're right.
Like, crazy. Yeah.
I don't know. First of all, the guy's stupid. They're both stupid.
Yeah, but it's just insane to me. Like just break up with her.
Exactly.
What is wrong?
That's she's like, you could have just broke up with her.
Yeah,
like a normal person, like anybody does.
And then Ted plot twist, and he's like, I'm gonna call the detective. You trust the detective, right?
You trust the detective who was on the case. So let me go back to my office. I have his number.
Right. I'm gonna leave my phone here, and I'm gonna have the detective call.
Yeah. So he leaves his phone about 10 to 15 feet away from Darcy,
on a chair.
Is it on a chair? I thought it was on a
stool or something. No, it's like on a chair.
It's on like a chair, like a stone. Which at the time,
it doesn't matter.
We found again. Yeah, you're gonna get to it. But at the time, it's like, if you're leaving a phone with a blind person, maybe you
I know.
But we find out why.
Yeah.
So in between, I'm gonna get a little bit ahead, but we're gonna come back. So in between where the phone is and where Darcy is essentially this trap door that leads to the first floor.
Why is that even there?
I didn't realize in the beginning of the movie. So I rewatched like a an explanation video or whatever after. In the beginning of the movie, we see Danny
we
like
see
covering
Danny
it.
covering
That
it.
didn't click at the time.
Yeah, but exactly, like why do they have that?
Yeah, why is that there in the beginning? Yeah.
Because it just leads to like a hallway on the bottom floor.
Because
like
they don't know if they ever need to kill a blind person in here.
Okay.
That's why.
Never
I thought
mind.
they were like a dungeon.
It's a trap
Yeah,
door.
it's a trap.
It's setting the trap.
Exactly. In case,
perfectly cut out. It's not just a hole.
It was intentional because you never know. You never know when you got to kill a blind person, and you know what?
He thought it through.
He thought it through. He was this far. Like he's a mastermind. That's why people gave this movie a 10 out of 10. This guy's a genius.
I guess so,
At the time, I had forgotten about it, and then we like after it goes to the office and like we see him calling, it does like the top down view.
Yeah.
Where we see like the giant ass hole in the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get the flashback of him like during the conversation, he was lifting up the
Where Ted was lifting up the thing or the trapdoor cover. So Ted makes it to his office. He gives Ivan a call, or he talks to Ivan. I don't remember which, but it doesn't matter because he tells Ivan like, "Hey, we have a problem. Darcy knows that you were the one that killed her, and killed Danny, and so we need to tie up all of our loose ends in order to get our stories straight."
Yeah.
And so Ivan's like, "So you want me to go take care of her?" And he's like, "Yes." And so Ted gives Danny a call, right? Because Ted gives Darcy a call because Ted left his cell phone with her. She walks over and then falls down into the
kind of like
trap.
runs. It was
Yeah.
weird. Like
Well,
she stands up and like is contemplating.
For like the longest time, she's just like, and it's like back and forth. It's just like she's like, run. She could have at least like been more cautious, maybe. I don't know.
I think she could feel something was off. Or
Yeah, I feel like
she
it was more of
repenting.
like
She was like she knew she was gonna die.
maybe
Is she-
right her version of like this is my punishment for
Yeah.
getting rid of Olin.
Yeah. You never. Oh, big brain movie.
Oh,
I don't
freaking
know.
galaxy brain. Now thinking about it, that's probably what it was when I first saw it. I was more thinking of like she doesn't know whether to trust Ted or not.
I think she
Right.
knew.
You know
She's
what I
psychic, right? Like, come on.
Yeah,
She has to know. She
Yeah.
has to know there's a hole on the floor.
yeah. And so she falls down the hole. Ivan shows up to the house. He gives Ted a call and he's like, "Hey, our problem is basically taken care of or whatever."
Yeah.
And then the wooden figure comes to
'Cause
life.
she's still like partially alive. Like
Oh,
she's
yeah.
laying in her own blood, but she's still
doing
can-
all
she
the-
points. She points to him, right, or something.
Oh yeah, because he goes up to the top floor and it's like looking
She
down.
starts doing
Yeah.
the Naruto jutsu stuff with the little puppet jutsu.
To make the wooden puppet come to life. And it basically terrorizes Ivan for a little bit. It picks him up by his head,
It was gonna
And
it was
then-
about to crush. Oh,
like
but she dies
it
before.
did with Orlin, right?
Yeah.
Right, which
And
goes,
it's-
yeah.
I think
And
she
then
dies before.
she
it
dies
happened.
before that happens. And so we get a glimpse of Ivan on the ground. What's up?
Yes, because this was another thing where like in the beginning on like the stuff we skipped, Danny had called her sister and then mentioned that they're connected or whatever. And then when she's pointing up at Ivan, she says like we're connected, but
Yeah.
she's talking about like the wood thing.
The wood
Yeah.
figure. Yeah. So then it basically cuts to black. We are at some point in the future, don't know when, but Ted is Ted is talking with Ivan. Ivan has been checked in to the mental facility.
He's like strapped to the bed.
Yeah, he's strapped to the bed, and Ted is like, "No one's gonna believe you because you're here, no matter what you say."
Yeah.
Because he was talking about how like Ivan had told the lady when she got there, the nurse, whoever it was, or when he had got to the
Yeah.
hospital, that
Yeah.
like a woodman was terrorizing him,
Yeah.
and then he had asked to talk to a priest, which
Yeah.
is
Which
like
is like his way of like ratting.
right. He was ready. To, He
Yeah.
said he wanted to confess,
Yeah.
and basically that's why Ted is holding him
I
hostage.
think there's
now.
something there. There's like something there, something there that we're probably missing, or somewhere in the movie. I feel like that's a point somewhere. Just the whole like idea of heaven, hell. Because I think they had mentioned like the nun too, right? How she like in a flashback, Ivan was having that conversation. She was blind.
The blind nun who
The
like
blind
said she
nun.
went blind after
It's
she
like
saw
the,
hell.
the idea of hell or something like that. I feel like it's a sub thing somewhere.
Maybe.
And it's probably going over our head.
Yeah.
Probably.
So in the conversation, Ted tells Ivan, like, inmates get into fights all the time, and who knows what happens.
like we can explain it.
Yeah, we
Like,
could explain that. He leaves, And then
He releases the toe muncher.
yeah, he really does.
We see the back. We keep seeing the back of this guy's head
I thought
multiple times.
That guy looked cool. I was like, this guy's gonna be a badass.
He had like a
or
mask
something,
on and
yeah.
he's like gnawing at it or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the Silence of the Lamb, right?
Yeah.
So he lets him in there. And
He likes
goes
toes.
straight for the toes.
He's the definition of guy with a foot fetish.
He goes straight to the feet.
Yeah. He's like,
And then in that conversation, we also find out that Ted burned the wooden figure.
Oh yes, because he's like, if the wooden figure was trying to kill you, how come I was able to burn it
without
any-
it putting up like a fight, pretty much.
Yeah. And then that's the end of that. Ted goes home. He
He's
has
broken
a
up
package.
with.
This is when we get
Yeah,
the
he gets broken
voicemail,
up with by
which-
Yana.
Yana's like, 2 people have died there,
Yeah.
which is
And he still wants
a
to say
year,
that, yeah.
a year apart from each other on the same exact day, basically.
And they're twins.
Yeah.
Right, and she's like, I don't want anything to do with you. It's kind of weird you want to stay there, basically.
Yeah.
That was pretty
And-
smart. I mean, like, you know.
Yeah.
She made the right move.
Yeah, she did.
She really did. And then Ted gets a package, and then it's a box. Inside of the box, there's another box. Inside of that box, that's the bell from the bellhop. And then he rings it, and then we get a glimpse. He rings it, and at first, he's like,
It was kind of
"Is this
tense.
real?"
He's like
Yeah.
sitting down with it.
Yeah, and he like looks around.
Yeah.
We see all of the dark corners of the house, and
Yeah.
there's nothing until the very, 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 very last shot. You see the bellhop.
Yeah,
in
cheap
the
scare.
background.
No, I'm pretty sure I understood it that he was ringing it because he was still like not unbelieving this.
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. That's exactly.
Because he
why.
like contemplates and holds his hand over it.
Yeah,
And
he was like.
yeah, and that's when it gets
that's
really
another. I
tense.
feel like that's another theme too in the movie.
I was expecting him to get like swooped away or something, and then
Yeah.
like he laughs it off, and then we
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
It was kind of corny ending.
Which
Yeah.
can we talk about? Man,
Yes, we
this
can.
guy fumbled the bag.
Who?
He killed his wife just to have this girl break up with him anyway.
Yeah, I know.
He,
That's
he really
crazy.
loved the house, I guess.
I guess
Because he
so.
mentioned like I put too much money into it or whatever,
Yeah.
which is why he couldn't just break up with her. She was gonna take
She's
everything.
gonna take everything. Yeah.
And just for like Yana to break up with him,
Okay.
he killed the wife and the sister.
All right, who's more of a simp? Ted for killing his wife over someone, or Orlok for killing himself over someone? They both died.
I mean,
for
Ted
women.
killed people and himself. Well, I guess they both did. They're the same movie.
It's the same movie
Just
right there.
one of them didn't put me to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm standing at the 10 by
This
10.
isn't a Nosferatu.
But yeah, the ending was. I don't know. I know we're about to get into pros and cons, but yeah, I was expecting.
It was kind of
After the twist, it's kind of just.
It
yeah.
felt, well, that's it. Okay, I guess we can get into it. Well, no, I'll get into it right now.
Yeah, go.
They're
Go for
like, that's the thing I was talking about. Like, once you realize the twist, it's kind of like, oh, they don't really give it room to, like, breathe. It's kind of like, they could have really played off, like, the psychological, like, oh, you're lying, she's lying. Like, they kind of do a little bit, but it only lasts, like, what, 5 minutes before they, like, break it to them where it's like, oh, the twist is real. Like, they could have really, like, made it to where, like, maybe she really is crazy. Maybe she's not psychic. Maybe all this stuff that she's doing, you know?
Yeah, and you know, that's a really interesting point, because in the conversation that Ted has with Darcy about the whole, I'm going to leave my phone here, he even tells her, like, you know, I can take you to the hospital with
Get
me.
you screened, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, like, they were playing off of it and stuff like that, but, like, I don't know.
Okay, she tells him like, 1, you're gonna lock me up, and
Yes.
2, she's like, I thought about killing you, but I'd rather take everything you have or whatever.
Yeah.
Which kind of, I guess, works out. But
yeah.
I do agree. The whole movie like leads up to this big that plot, and then like, okay, we haven't seen the wooden man move.
Yeah.
It all leads up to this big thing for
And
it.
it's
To
It's kind of,
kinda,
yeah, it just falls,
it just
it
stays
falls
the
flat
same.
really fast. Like,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's when I kind of was like,
Yeah.
it's a movie.
Yeah.
Nah, I feel like it could have been.
It could have been, it could have done, it had potential. I guess that's like the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that was basically the movie. So Jordan, pros and cons.
Pros. Shit, I wasn't ready to go first.
Okay, no, you're fine.
Okay, y'all go first. And
Okay,
I'll go
Justin,
off.
pros and cons.
Jordan can go first.
Okay. Pros overall, again, I feel like a pro for it is that it didn't have any like really big cons. Like there wasn't any really big moments where I was like, oh yeah, that took me out of it, or like that was a mistake. It more felt like my biggest con, which we haven't hit on, is I feel like wasted potential. But as far as pros, I feel like it did a good job story building for the first act and a half or 2 acts. I feel like it keeps the story interesting, even if like you could guess where it was going, or like I'm not saying it's like a one of a kind plot or whatever, but it keeps it interesting. It keeps you kind of drawn in throughout. You're waiting for the next flashback or the next like the guy to move again or the next thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it does a good job of keeping you engaged.
It was a subtle tension, like throughout the movie.
It's a generally short movie. It's like an hour and a half, an hour and 38.
There were like
something
small parts where it felt like it dragged, but I mean, for the most part,
it's almost weird. Like there were small parts where it felt like it dragged, and then the end, it felt like they hit
the fast forward button.
Because I think when we get to the twist, I think we're already like an hour and 5 minutes into it, so then like the rest is in that. Yeah. But overall, I thought it did a good job, like building tension, building a story. It has you like in. Again, it doesn't like. It could have built on the lore more, but it has you engaged in the characters and like. We don't know what happened to the wife till like later on. It keeps you engaged. I think that was a good pro. Overall, I feel like the acting was pretty good.
It was alright,
I feel like the film quality, the sound quality, all of it did what it needed to do to be, to me, what I would consider like a positive movie. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of it was kind of just the wasted potential of. I feel like this plot could have been way better, or
definitely
executed in a way that would have been like, this is a movie you have to watch. Yeah. But right now it's kind of like. You know, if you're scrolling through Shudder, I recommend watching it. But
I'd say this.
If you don't watch it, I don't feel like you're not, losing anything.
Yeah, like, it's like give it a shot. If you don't want to, then it's all right.
But those are my pros. So,
I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, pros. I mean, there's not really much like. I mean, it was a decent movie, right? Like,
there's no like standout.
There's nothing that stands out. I mean, it's more unique than obviously like Wolfman. So I take it back to the beginning where I say it was painfully average. It wasn't painfully average. It was just average.
Yeah.
So like I mean, it was decent. It had somewhat of a unique premise, but I mean, obviously, like he said, it just kind of falls short of what it does. And again, I expected something completely different, and I guess maybe I was a little bit disappointed by that too. So I don't know. Cons. I mean, I guess pros, it's average. Cons, it's average. That's all I can.
I think you're right. Like it lived and died by. There's nothing that stands out in either direction. It's kind of all in a safe zone.
Yeah, I mean it was all right. It's a Shudder, right? It's a Shudder original, right? So
pros, that corner of the house looked really nice. But
where
the hell is the rest of it?
The rest of the house. They had so much. They're like I don't even know how that worked, right? Like they probably got the whole set, the whole house for like the budget, right? Maybe unless it was just the outside, right? Unless it was just like the outside, and they're like, all right, then we gotta make their own inside.
It looks like a genuinely like abandoned place. So
they could have used it. They could have used the whole place.
Because imagine that plot with like a whole house.
Yeah, they could have been running or.
I didn't realize
cursed items everywhere. The monkey chasing us, it's like banging on the.
I didn't realize till towards the end, it literally is just like a rectangle. Like when you go up the stairs, the loft is like right. Like I didn't realize that. Yeah, we're literally only seeing like a fraction.
We're all not even. It's not even like.
I don't even think it's like the whole like
side.
I was like, I don't even think it's the whole. I think it's like literally just like this much of like that part.
I wish we would have got because it focuses so many times. It like shows you a full pan of the entire thing.
Yeah,
I feel like they could have built into the story why they don't use the rest of it. The rest of it's haunted, so we don't. Like,
they did make that thing actually. They did make that comment.
Really?
Yeah, they made that. That was a small comment. They're like the renovators maybe chased the ghosts away or something. Supposedly it was haunted. That was a comment. That was a comment.
It just feels so like. I feel like we could have chosen a different filming location.
No, they could have, right? At least like an average house, maybe that looked the same.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She could have had all her. What are they called? I don't want to call them trinkets. What are they?
She could have had all her cursed items.
Her cursed items.
All her lackeys come out, right? She could have been like the. I don't know. Whatever person summons people. What is an entity person, notorious character that summons cursed items or anything?
I don't know.
The puppeteer, master of the puppets. I don't know. Master of cursed trinkets. They could all have names too. They could all have names. That would have been a better movie.
Yeah, that Shudder synopsis is like a chat GPT.
It was, like they need to change that shit for real. Because that was disappointing.
I don't know if y'all have seen a trailer for it.
I've never seen a trailer for it.
So I wouldn't know if those lined up. I wouldn't know if the trailer does an accurate representation of it.
It probably doesn't. I don't know. Based on the synopsis, it doesn't. But I don't know.
So pros for myself, other than, what the two of them had already mentioned, I felt like it did a really good job about, building tension. and stuff like that when they wanted to. They were really good at that. And like when I went in to watch this movie, the only other thing that I had known about it was that it's dark. Like subject matter, yes, but like
physically, like
yes,
the movie's physically dark a lot. Yeah,
like the lighting is exactly physically dark. And so I was watching it in this room, which is the darkest room in our house when we turn off these lights, and just that screen that's sitting over there that y'all can't see. And so it's like, so I could, hone in on what was going on. And so
he still had to turn the brightness up.
I did all the way. So like, and just the way that they used that to like build the tension, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't like when we're looking at Danny's point of view and the different corners of the house.
I did like
don't
that, yeah.
see anything. I was like, oh man, that's kind of freaky.
They use it to their advantage for sure. Because you feel unsettled, and then even at the end, like I talked to Justin about this before filming, that like even when you can tell like at the end the woodman becomes like a person in like a tight suit or something. They use the darkness to like make it work to their advantage. It definitely adds to like the weird tension and unsettling though. Mm-hmm. Straight from the beginning, straight from that opening scene.
Yeah. So. They could have kept it going, I don't know.
They really could have.
Oh, you know what? One thing that I kind of maybe like, I don't know if it was a good, no, it was a good thing because I fucking hate that in movies. There were not really any jump scares.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I feel like that would have just taken away from like the tension if they did.
It did focus on like
the
way they built tension.
So they did build tension good, and I think they relieved it, I guess, after building it more decently than they would have with the jump scare.
Yeah.
I guess, well, they had that one jump scare, which was the camera.
They did have like one or two, but it seemed like they made it a point that not to break tension with jump scares.
Yes. Like they do with like what, every other fucking Blumhouse movie?
Yeah.
It was a very like, the horror element of it is that it's just really like unsettling for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Where you're waiting for like.
That was good.
You're waiting for it.
I give it a 6. I'll give it a 6.
6 out of 10?
I'll give it a 6.
Okay.
This movie has, when you had texted that like you felt like you're missing something, this movie has a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes from critics.
Yeah.
It has like a 77 audience, which I feel like is more in line. I haven't read the critic scores, but I'm interested to see.
I need to look on.
A 96 seems like. I feel like it had the potential to be a 96.
Even on Shudder, how they do like the skulls or whatever, they have 5 out of 5 for.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it had the potential.
There's something that's what you said. Maybe we're missing something.
Maybe we're missing.
There's some undertone that we're missing, and something we're gonna realize later, where we're gonna be like, oh.
If you know what it is, leave it in the comment below.
I'll rewatch it.
Yeah, we're not.
Would you want just rewatch it? Because I won't. No.
We don't have that galaxy brain. But yeah, until then, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. The next movie is Adam's pick, and he wants us to watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So go ahead and stay tuned for that one. But until then, y'all have a nice day.